Welcome back to ctntworld.com. Today we're dealing with families who have children with Down syndrome. In studio with us, Glenn Niles, the father of young Tyrese, who's 13 years old, who is a child with Down syndrome. We'll be joined by ace panelist Dane Gulston, and in the studio also with us is psychologist Daryl Joseph, who is going through the support systems needed for families who are facing this challenge. So you got this other piece of complication now. How did he progress, Tyrese?
Well, once we got through at Rotary International to have the surgery done, so it was done abroad. And once that was done, it was uphill from then.
From about what age?
Well, he had the surgery done at 5 months old. And until, that was the hardest 5 months ever, because we actually saw him, like regressing, because he was a solid baby when he was born. He started losing weight and getting smaller. And, it was almost like if you were watching him pine away, and just praying for him to, survive the 5 months. But after he went for the surgery and he came back, then he started to thrive.
What steps did you and your wife have to take now to prepare yourselves for dealing with the challenges of raising a child with Down syndrome?
Well, the only thing is we didn't really know anything about Down syndrome. We didn't know anybody who had a child with Down syndrome. And so we more or less were on our own, where this was concerned. And we just went about it like, I guess, most typical parents would. We tried, went through the whole feeding process, and, he did well. After the surgery, he started to thrive and put on weight. And then the other challenge we had was he was starting to put on weight so fast that he didn't learn to walk in time, so he became too heavy to walk. But with just basic knowledge of physical education and physical training, we were able to help him strengthen those tiny legs with various exercises, some that were kind of difficult, because for him to be able to accomplish certain tasks, we had to leave him for him to try it on his own. And, we would go through the screaming, which is hard. I'm sure for any parent looking at their child screaming and not rush to pick them up. But, we had to let him do it. So he would try.
To build his strength.
Yeah, to build his strength. And it worked. And by the time he was 2.5, he took his first steps.
So now he's 13 years old.
Yes.
How was his education? Did you get special tutors? Did you get...
Yes, well, we started him off in a normal daycare, which we found out after is the best thing to do, actually. Good. And then he went to probably the only inclusive school in Trinidad and Tobago, Charis Works. But he has a very strong will of his own, and he was so cute that he used to get away with anything at the school. Right? So I took him out of the school because I was thinking, oh, they let him do whatever he wants, because it's Tyrese. And during class, he would be out in the playing field.
So he's thriving now?
Yes, he is.
What is his specialty? What does he do really well?
He loves football, cricket, basketball. He has a basketball wing at home. So he's very good doing the making shots. I'm working on him with the dribble, because he prefers to run with the ball to a point where he knows he could make the shot. Yeah, and in some of the instances, it's outside the prescribed key area, and he's into karate. So
he's on his way to being a Special Olympian.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Glenn, thanks for being with us. We really appreciate it. I wanted to end with you sharing. I could see the joy in your eyes. I could see the pride in your eyes, from the time we started to talk to at the end of the conversation. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Dane Gulston, who is also the father of a child with Down syndrome, right here on CTNT World. Stay with us. A nice different angle here now. We're talking about families who are faced with the challenge of raising children or a child with Down syndrome. We just heard from Glenn Niles, the father of 13-year-old Tyrese, who's on his way to being a Special Olympian. We're joined now by Dane Gulston, who you may know him. He's one of the best panelists in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean. His son's name is Daniel. He's 8 years old. Thanks for joining us, Dane.
It's a pleasure. No.
All right, so we heard Glenn's story, and we started with Glenn's heartache when he found out at birth that his son Tyrese had Down syndrome. How did you find it? Did you find it before birth or after birth?
after birth, actually, when my wife was already, when she made Daniel. Actually, when I went to visit her at the hospital, she said, then we had some, at that time, bad news. I don't think, the child is what you might expect it. Maybe not those words, but, I said, what's wrong? Because he looked normal to me.
So you didn't see the physical characteristics associated with a child with Down syndrome?
No, no, actually. And, well, I think the reason, now you could see it a little bit in Daniel, but Daniel looks kind of normal to a point, because Daryl knew him personally. And
was that a comfort to you that he didn't look as...
Yes. Yes, because, yes, it was a comfort after knowing, well, she said, well, Dean, Down syndrome, doctor came. Well, actually, I don't know, to be honest, can't remember really totally taking it anyhow.
So it didn't affect you emotionally at all?
Yes, to a point, but not as bad as my wife.
What happened with your wife?
She broke down, she started crying immediately, talking to me, and she was more studying what she should do and what we will do, and, well, I think, though, mainly she thinks of everything kind of one time.
Oh, so she's looking 10 years down the road?
Down the road, yeah.
I
was just pointing out the difference. Remember you asked the question, how the wife, how the mother, and how the father reacts, and I told you it can vary.
Yeah.
Example right now.
I think because knowing I'm an entertainer, knowing I'm kind of out there, knowing most of the time she may have to deal with this.
Alone, because you're on tour, and your job takes you around
times, the place. Yeah, and though knowing what to expect, so that is one of the reasons.
What did the doctors tell you immediately? Because there's a range, Down syndrome, children with Down syndrome can have a range from mild to severe. Where did he lie? He was mild.
He was mild, They explain certain things in terms of, he may have a little bit of speech, problems and different things. Like, for instance, with the heart, I experienced that because Daniel had 3 holes in his heart.
So he also had heart issues.
And I should say, if I'm not jumping the gun, everybody have different situations. Everybody, as you just said, deal with things differently. I think my experience or our experience was totally different. Maybe because after a while, seeing certain things happening and really finding out about the 3 holes in his heart, near immediately, I got help.
All right, we're going to take a pause there. We're going to take a pause. We have the Playway draw coming up. And when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Dale Gulston about challenges families face with children with Down syndrome. Welcome back to ctntworld.com. This evening, we're looking at the newly found Down Syndrome Family Network, whose number is 663-0865. That's 663-0865. Part of the mandate is to provide support for families who have children with Down syndrome. We have the 2 gentlemen who both have sons with Down syndrome. Glenn has rejoined us on set. Dane is still on set with us. Dane has a son whose name is Daniel, who is 8 years old, and of course, Glenn's son is Tyrese. You all have 2 completely different stories. It's very interesting that you all have 2 completely different stories. And why I like the fact that you both have consented to be a part of this is that it adds a real Trini face to this. People have a tendency to believe, well, that is their problem. And it's not affecting what you would consider average guys like yourself.
Yeah.
Has that been your experience?
Yes, to a point. With me, yes, in terms, experience, walking and some people staring and all that, right? But because I said earlier, my son, to me, is like normal.
Because he's been diagnosed as mild?
Mild, yeah. Right? You have that, in terms of he sometimes go into a little tantrum, you give little problems to do certain things and all of that, Again, as you say, he had the 3 holes in his heart, and that was taken care of. Up to now, he's perfect. Just like give or take, like a week or a week and a half ago, we went to check his spine because they want to go to Special Olympics, you know what I mean? We want to ride horse.
So they can be teammates.
So, yeah, exactly, yeah, you know. And he played soccer up to last night in the Pan. Music, he's serious, but Pan, he's sick.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
Glenn, you're an official committee member of the Down Syndrome Family Network. What is the mandate of the network?
Well, to promote awareness about children and adults with Down syndrome, because we are losing a part of our population and we are not even aware of it. One, we don't have correct statistics of how many people there actually are with Down syndrome, because some of them are not diagnosed at the hospitals or the nursing homes, and they are even diagnosed months after, when the parents take the children to their the family pediatrician, right? So we don't know. So what happens is that these children are segregated more or less from birth, and they are sent to special schools, so from special school to special school. And then when they are too old to go to the special school, they are just more or less kept at home. So they've been segregated from birth, and they cannot be included again when they are adults, because nobody is aware of them, nobody knows them, besides in their small community, maybe family or where they work, where they live actually. Right? So what we want to do is increase awareness about it. First, a lot of the parents are not even aware of the potential of their children, because some parents might think, oh, my son has Down syndrome. In fact, I was guilty of that. And I was thinking, remember the first thing I said is he will be a Special Olympian. So I was thinking, okay, well, he wouldn't be able to do this, but he might be able to do this. So I already set preconceived limits in my mind. And that, I think, prevented Tyrese from progressing, because I wouldn't allow him to do things that I thought...
Because you're only looking at his limitations.
Yeah, that I thought he might be able to do. Until I attended a conference abroad, and with the National Down Syndrome Congress in the US, they have this huge conference every year, and I decided to invest in it. And when I went, I had to meet a young man who just gave his speech. He was a self-advocate and talked about his experiences in high school, college, and university. And I was like, no, I have to meet this guy. I went up and I met him, and there's this young man with Down syndrome who has been to university, and he is gainfully employed, you know, and he lives independently. And I couldn't believe it.
So you started to see us in a totally different light.
In a totally different light.
Then we're going to switch out in a while. What would you like people looking on to know in terms of how they should interact, the type of support you need from the national community and also from special agencies, so people may not have to travel the road you traveled initially, and to provide some support for your son and other people?
Well, first legislation through government and internal passing. To me, honestly, as I say, awareness and education in terms of how to handle a Down syndrome in the first place, because it's a human. Naturally, they have feelings, you know what I mean, and things do hurt them, right? So we need to edify the people for them to know that, listen, this is a normal person.
With feelings.
Feelings, and you know what I mean? And to be honest with you, for people who don't know, they may not sometimes show it, but after a while, they go in a corner and just kind of, you know what I mean, stick to themselves, because they're loving,
and they will react negative. If people are reacting negative to
them, yeah,
they are going to internalize it and realize, well, why are you treating me like that?
Exactly.
And withdraw. So, and that's not going to help the development.
Exactly. So what I would like is for people to stop even calling them certain names. You understand? Because they understand at times. Maybe they may not understand fully, but they understand, like, you talking negatively about them.
So they're people, and people need to respect them.
Respect them, yeah,
and
totally.
also their families.
Yeah.
Dane, thanks a lot for being with us.
It's a pleasure. And
all the best to you and your son, Daniel.
Thanks.
And we're going to represent Trinidad and Tobago soon. We're going to just go through some stats for our research back in Darrell. Of course, once again, just to give you a heads up in terms of what you can expect It is a situation, a condition that had been identified first in 1862, a genetic disorder that delays physical and intellectual development of a child ranging from mild to severe. It's very important we understand there are different ranges of expression with this, usually identified by physical characteristics at birth. Some may be almost indistinguishable, such as low muscle tone, a single crease above the palm, across the palm, a slightly flattened facial profile, an upward slant of the eyes. That also can go in different degrees. The physical characteristics are later confirmed by a study called a karyotype, which provides a visual display of the chromosomes, and it can also be identified in utero while the mother is pregnant by an amniocentesis test, I do believe, and other tests right now. So you can prepare yourselves if you think you may be predisposed, because it is a genetic predisposition in some instances. Darrell, you've heard the responses, and what really struck me about Dane a while ago is the fact that people can be very cruel, but the cruelty comes from ignorance, really.
That's it. That's it,
and
exactly.
if people are more aware of what happens, and this is a family with a child who love their child just as much as you love your child, who are facing a particular challenge, but they have just as many dreams and hopes for their child, people will be more sensitive and have a different approach.
Human nature is to be afraid of what you don't understand. All right, and I mean, we've seen that play itself out in human history time and time again. So awareness, and I was listening very keenly to both guests to hear that. Education about what Down syndrome is and what it isn't, okay, and awareness, creating a greater sense of awareness, a greater sense of inclusiveness will help the wider society, not just the parents who need to understand first, but the wider society understand that, as Dane was saying, that these are human beings, normal people, just like everybody else with feelings and families and everything, and need to be included in our society.
And the children understand like all of the children.
And they
know when you're looking down on them, they know when you're talking negatively. Glenn, for families themselves now who may have that chip on their shoulder, they hide away the children because they're embarrassed and they don't know they're doing the children more damage in terms of retarding their development. What would you like to tell them? Because there are several families like that out there, because they feel it's a reflection on their status in society and how they feel about themselves and how people look at them.
Well, when we had our family workshop, after the launch, we had a family workshop, and that was like the first time that so many people, we had about 100 families, so many people came together that had one, they had one common denominator. They all had a child with Down syndrome, and it was a great experience because each person did a testimony, and we had some parents who had children in their 30s, and we had some parents who had children that were like just a couple of months old. So to hear the difference in the stories, but one thing was constant, and that was the looks, the absence of resources. There were some people who were able to afford their own resources through their own network of friends and family, but there are some people who were not able to access any of these, and you saw the difference in their children as well.
Let's just sneak in Kuva. Kuva, we got to be really quick with this. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead, please.
Yes, my contribution only comes in 2 sentences. Number 1, disability should not be automatically translated into inability. That's one sentence. The second sentence for the parents with these issues, they must control themselves by accepting the fact that we are not there yet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Has the network and the coming together of these families provided a support system for each other where they can share experiences and also share success stories and ways that they can deal with common challenges?
Yes, and that is exactly why the network was formed. So that was just the first of several meetings that we would be having. And we have a very structured agenda where it will be both informative yet sharing. So it wouldn't be every time you come to the meeting, it will be like if the people who claim to know it all come and lecture into you on some particular topic.
It's very equitably spread.
That's
and
it.
If people want more information, 663-0865.
And there's also they can email us at dsfamilynetwork dsfamilynetwork@gmail.com.
dsfamilynetwork@gmail. There are your closing comments.
Yeah, just want to reiterate again the importance of education, understanding exactly what it is you're dealing with, and also awareness in terms of the general population. Parental support, particularly the kind of peer support you were talking about, people sharing a common experience, going through the same thing together, helping people to get over the sense of isolation, understanding, critical.
Thank you, Daryl. 663-0865, dsfamilynetwork@gmail.com. Thanks for viewing. Thanks to Dane and Glenn and Daryl. Have a good evening.